With half-finished visual effects and a stunted production schedule, even a Sith Lord couldn't revive Mortal Kombat Annihilation in the eyes of moviegoers. After making a splash in the 1995 Mortal Kombat film, Lyndon Ashby and Christopher Lambert both declined to return for Annihilation, and were each recast with different actors. In an interview featured in the 2017 book Lights, Camera, Game Over, chronicling the movie's production, producer Lawrence Kasanoff attributes a scheduling conflict to Lambert dropping out from Annihilation. Years after the 1997 film's release, however, Lambert cited the poor quality of the script for his decision to not return.
Sorry.
Kasanoff also claimed that Johnny Cage was killed early in Annihilation to shock the audience, but Ashby disputes this. In a separate interview in Lights, Camera, Game Over, Ashby claims he was open to reprising his role as Johnny, but Kasanoff did not want to honor his sequel deal. After seeing the script for Annihilation, Ashby also turned down the offer due to the poor quality of writing.
Johnny Cage wasn't the only returning fighter recast for Annihilation, as J.J. Perry replaced Chris Casamassa as Scorpion when Casamassa signed on to do stunts in Batman and Robin instead.
More than just playing the yellow-clad ninja warrior, Perry also played Noob Saibot and Cyrax in the film, with each ninja getting their own fights in the movie. Pulling triple duty came at a painful price for Perry, as the actor and stunt performer injured himself during production. Perry revealed that the cumbersome mask involved in the Cyrax costume inhibited his vision, causing Perry to roll his ankle on a power cable. Because of this injury, Perry says he wasn't at his full physical potential for Scorpion's fight scene against his icy rival, Sub-Zero.
In a 2019 interview with Upcomer.com, Casamassa revealed that the planned fight sequence between Scorpion and Sub-Zero had originally been designed to be longer and more ambitious, but may have been shortened after his role was recast.
It wasn't only major cast members who were replaced from the original Mortal Kombat. Its director, controversial filmmaker Paul W.S. Anderson, ultimately opted not to helm the sequel. Anderson made a name for himself in the late 90s and early 2000s, overseeing films that were often financially successful, such as genre fare like Alien vs. Predator. His decision not to return to Annihilation opened up the director's chair to John R. Leonetti, cinematographer from the first Mortal Kombat. Though Anderson maintains his vocal respect for Kasanoff, in an interview in Lights, Camera, Game Over, he described his dynamic with the producer as less than smooth during Mortal Kombat's production. However, he voiced his support in having Leonetti promoted to director for Annihilation. Whereas the 1995 Mortal Kombat was filmed in California and Thailand, Annihilation was more ambitious, with production traveling to a higher number of countries for filming locations during principal photography. In a 1997 interview with GamePro, Lawrence Kasanoff promised the film would be bigger in scope and action than its predecessor.
This meant there would be more scenes within the parallel universe of Outworld, filmed in more exotic locations to create an otherworldly aesthetic to the proceedings.
Your planet and Outworld have begun to merge into one realm. Think of it as hell on Earth.
Aside from Thailand, Annihilation also shot scenes on location in Israel, Jordan, and the United Kingdom, with shooting in the latter location including the abandoned copper mine at Paris Mountain. In a 1997 interview timed to coincide with the film's release, Kasanoff explained that wet, windy weather conditions at the copper mine had hampered filming. In one instance, the winds picked up so dramatically that the production's base camp was blown away.
One of the few actors from the 1995 Mortal Kombat film to return for Annihilation was Robin Shou, reprising his fan-favorite role as master martial artist Liu Kang.
While Shou performed many of his own fight scenes, he did have a stunt performer double for certain aspects of his performance. Doubling for Shou in Annihilation was Thai actor and stunt choreographer Tony Jaa, who would go on to have his own celebrated career as a martial arts movie star. Jaa became known to international audiences after starring in the 2003 martial arts film Ong Bak, The Thai Warrior, and he's since gone on to appear in Furious 7 and Monster Hunter. Though Jaa had done stunt work in local Thai films, Annihilation provided him a major stepping stone, with Jaa recalling years later his good fortune in fitting Shou's physical size and fighting style. Like Tony Jaa, prolific stunt performer Ray Park similarly rose from nameless background performer to beloved genre star shortly after his work in Mortal Kombat. Park had one of his first on-camera experiences in Annihilation, and like Perry, he took on multiple roles to do so. Most notably, the Scottish stuntman doubled for James Remar as Raiden in various sequences.
Park also doubled for Dennis Kiefer as Baraka, and appeared as one of the Outworld reptile ninjas that menace the heroes.
Park broke out in 1999, appearing as both Darth Maul in Star Wars Episode I The Phantom Menace and the Headless Horseman in Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. Park's first major on-screen speaking role was in 2000's X-Men, playing the acrobatic mutant supervillain Toad, and he went on to play Snake Eyes in the early G.I. Joe films. Park has since navigated some controversies, but during a panel appearance at Salt Lake City Comic-Con in 2013, he credited Mortal Kombat Annihilation for jump-starting his career, and expressed interest in returning to the franchise if ever invited. Chris Conrad replaced Lyndon Ashby in the role of Johnny Cage in Annihilation. Audiences didn't have long to get accustomed to Conrad in the role, however, as Johnny is brutally killed by Shao Kahn in the opening scene. As Conrad recalled to KillerFilm.com in 2011, "Yep, got my neck broke in record time. I told people when it came out to get your popcorn and Raisinets after the first 10 minutes, so you don't miss me." But despite this quick and ceremonious dispatching of the beloved character, tentative plans at the time were to have Johnny return later in the film as a ghost. Evidently, that's not how things played out in the film's production. There were plans by Kasanoff to continue the film series with a sequel to Annihilation, tentatively named Mortal Kombat Devastation. However, the poor critical and commercial reception of Annihilation quietly led to the project being delayed for years. In the early 2000s, pre-production picked up again, with both Shu and Ashby saying in interviews at the time that the film was planning to go into production. After a planned filming location in Louisiana was impacted by Hurricane Katrina and Kasanoff unsuccessfully sued to stop the sale of Midway Games and the Mortal Kombat license to Warner Brothers, Devastation was shelved for good. Though Kasanoff envisioned Annihilation going bigger and better than its predecessor, a tight production budget and rush schedule complicated matters. This led to significant sequences that were written for the film being reduced or cut entirely. In an interview for Lights, Camera, Game Over, co-writer Brent V. Friedman recalled that budget limitations led to major cuts from the final screenplay, saying, "I would be told, hey, this epic battle that was 4 pages long now needs to be a 2-person battle that's 2 pages long. When you cut out a big sequence like that, the whole movie suffers because it was designed to be a big action set piece at a very specific point in the movie." Looking back on the disastrous critical reception and box office drop-off for the Mortal Kombat sequel, Kasanoff cites a rushed production schedule as a primary culprit. In Lights, Camera, Game Over, Kasanoff said he should have insisted the studio wait at least 6 more months before launching into Annihilation's production. Unfortunately, the breakneck schedule they opted for resulted in truncating development and post-production cycles. It also required additional material to be filmed to make things more coherent. Kasanoff revealed that they had no time for reshoots to resolve any plot holes if they were to meet the studio's all-important deadline. Looking back, Kasanoff explained that he would have liked an additional week in Thailand and Jordan, along with several weeks of studio time to undergo reshoots after reviewing a rough cut. However, like the issues with the post-production cycle, these hopes were dashed in order to reach the unyielding deadline. The post-production team for Annihilation was spread all over the globe, but despite the production's global talent reach, the visual effects were not completed in time to meet the studio's release date. This failure to meet the anticipated deadline did not deter the studio from proceeding with the movie's theatrical release, much to Kasanoff's chagrin. In Lights, Camera, Game Over, Kasanoff admits that the visual effects in Annihilation remain unfinished to this day, with the studio deeming them, quote, good enough at the time.
Pretty cool, huh?
With expectations riding high for Annihilation to meet its November 1997 release date, the studio estimated the unfinished film would make better business releasing on time than delaying the premiere to complete its effects. Though Lambert did not reprise his role as Raiden for Annihilation, the actor was considered to return to the franchise for a cancelled follow-up. In an August 2016 interview with Loaded, Lambert revealed he had read a script for a proposed third film, and in contrast to Annihilation, he enjoyed the planned sequel's screenplay, though it's unclear if the script that Lambert read was the same one seen by Shu or Ashby. According to Lambert, the next Mortal Kombat film would have bent the rules of space and time, with fighters traveling through time to totally different locations in the midst of battle. The planned film may have been part of New Line's attempts to revive the franchise, as a reboot was announced in 2011 with Kevin Tancharoen attached to direct. In November 2016, Simon McCoy was hired to helm that would eventually become the 2021 Mortal Kombat reboot, discarding any plans for a sequel to Annihilation, along with Lambert's potential return. After directing the 1995 Mortal Kombat, Paul W.S. Anderson would go on to helm different video game film adaptations, including Resident Evil and Monster Hunter. Anderson was appalled at how the cinematic world he had helped introduce in the first Mortal Kombat was diminished by its sequel. This observation would affect how Anderson approached his management of the Resident Evil franchise, with the filmmaker intent on taking a more hands-on role to ensure a consistent level of quality. In Lights Camera Game Over, he shared, "It made me think differently about how you create a franchise, and one of the things strong franchises have is a strong creative team behind them that stayed the same. I felt with Mortal Kombat I started a franchise and then the sequel ended the franchise."
Mother, you're alive. Too bad you will die.
Anderson produced and wrote every installment of the Resident Evil series and directed 4 of the movies. He has credited at least some of this grand design to the knowledge of what Kombat became, saying, "The problems I had this time around were the reasons I didn't want to go back for the sequel." The original Mortal Kombat video game was created by Ed Boon and John Tobias, with Boon remaining alongside the franchise throughout its lengthy history. Boon has voiced the character Scorpion since the 1991 game, reprising his voiceover role as a masked ninja warrior for both the 1995 film and Annihilation. Despite voicing the character in Annihilation, Boon regards the 1997 film as the franchise's lowest point, stance shared by Tobias. In a 2012 interview for Complex looking back on the entire history and legacy of the Mortal Kombat franchise, Boon kept his analysis succinct, saying he was not a fan of Annihilation. Tobias, meanwhile, is credited as a contributing co-writer to the story of Annihilation, along with Kasanoff and Joshua Wexler. Friedman and Bryce Zabel are credited for the screenplay. In an online Q&A, Tobias similarly listed Annihilation as his least favorite Mortal Kombat memory, and recalled seeing rough cuts of the film during production that drove home a sharp drop in cinematic quality.